Good evening, this is Maestro Cortello with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today we have a 1v1 on Calderis Refinery. First, we have as the Space Marine Apothecary, Excalibur, as the Space Marine Apothecary. A healing commander who mostly focuses on healing, is not that great at fighting, but he's still very good when he heals Tactical Marines and Assault Space Marines. On the other side of things, we have as this disgusting Lictor Alpha, Dullahan. So the Lictor Alpha is a melee hero, very powerful in melee, and is also very stealthy, can infiltrate and surprise you and stuff. Alright, so this is a 1v1, rather short 1v1, but it is between some very good players, so I think we can probably expect at least a decent game, if not a very good game. Excalibur going for the very typical Space Marine opening. He's got, right now, the Tac Scout Space Marine opening. Dullahan has just a minor variation on the Tyranid opening. He went for double Hormagaunts instead of double Termagants. That's a build that I think, clearly, it's going to give him a little bit more ability to pressure. A lot of early pressure. He can kind of push forward, certainly early on, before Tex can afford to get shotguns. He won't really be able to stop both Hormagaunt squads from approaching if they clump up together. Although if they split apart, it might be a little tougher. The Apothecary does get flesh hooked right there, and we have a little bit of fighting going on. I do like the Tactical Marines in this matchup because they will do a lot of damage to both the Termagants and the Hormagaunts before they often, and usually inflict a lot of mono bleed on those units without taking a lot of bleed themselves. Right now we do see the green hexagons on those Tactical Marines, giving them that healing aura from the Apothecary. And we already have shotguns on one scout squad. I guess Tex sees those double Hormagaunts and respects it immediately and wants to be able to counter it. So now that Tex has the shotguns on those Hormagaunts, Dullahan definitely would actually be better off not blobbing those two Hormagaunts together, and we would be better off splitting them so that only one Hormagaunt squad can get knocked back by the shotguns and the other one can still close for melee. Tex now getting a third scout squad. This will help him on map control. So this scout build, triple scouts, is going to give Texanius a lot of mobility and a lot of map control. And he can actually, one of the downsides to getting so many scouts is that you don't really have high DPS, and the scouts can't really compete in ranged fights with most other tier 1 ranged units. But I think one of the things that works about this triple scout build is that Dullahan doesn't really have too many tier 1 ranged units. He only has this single Termagant Brood, and the Termagant Brood is still definitely gonna do better than a single scout squad. It might even be 2 scout squads, but Tex can just kind of manage his fights where he'll just keep the scouts away from the Termagants. He can have the Tax engage with the Termagants, which is exactly what they're doing right here, although they're kind of running away. They actually run out of cover, strangely, which they kind of shouldn't do, but they will. The Tax will, by themselves, definitely beat the Termagants, especially if they have a heal ready from the Apothecary. And then the Scouts can definitely take care of the Hormagaunts, as well as this new Warrior Brood. Hormagaunts coming around for a back cap, though. Not a back cap, a bash. Tex sees it, though. He isn't going to engage with his Scouts, and frankly, these Hormagaunts are pretty well countered, and he actually already Tex starts repairing the generator to completely nullify the work that Dullahan did. Basically just going to make that a wasted move from Dullahan. Would have actually been better off capping this power node. Tex still has 500 VPs, although it looks like Dullahan, I thought he might get a cap there on the middle VP, but it doesn't look like it. Warriors actually emit a basic synapse, so they're giving these Hormagaunts right here a little boost. They do upgrade to the Barbed Strangler, which is a suppression tool from Tyranids. It's an area of effect attack. It's basically like a grenade launcher that suppresses. Hormagaunts do make it in melee with these scouts, but Tex has a shotgun blast ready. The Apothecary now in a ton of trouble. It may actually go down here, and he does in fact go down. He got flesh hooked by the Lictor Alpha. The Lictor Alpha himself was nearly dead. But I think this ultimately will be a winning engagement for Tex, even though he did lose his Apothecary. He does seem to be pushing up, although he's being very aggressive with his scouts. And now they are taking a little bit too much range fire, believe it or not, despite Tex should be able to manage this in a way that he shouldn't be taking range. His scouts should not be taking range fire, basically. He should let his tax tank the range fire while his scouts take care of the melee. And now the tax are in trouble too. They need to get out of there before they take a model loss. And they probably, yeah, they do take one model loss. I think if Dullahan pursued there, may have even been able to get another model on Tex's tax squad. So Tex gets out of there, definitely takes some losses. I'd say some unnecessary losses. His Apothecary is back. I don't know if he bought it back or if he used... Probably did not have enough red to use Laramyn's Blessing, so I'm guessing he just straight up bought it back. This Apothecary has been upgraded to the Sanguine Chainsword. I actually think that's... it is the least commonly used war gear for the least commonly used weapon for the Apothecary, but I actually think it can be pretty good, especially against weaker melee units like Hormagaunts and especially heretics, because the Apothecary will lead models from them while also healing himself and probably not dying. Although certainly the Apothecary is still not that powerful, so you don't want to get too brazen with putting him in against melee units. Anyway, another bash. Dullahan with this sneaky bash with this Adrenal Gland Hormagaunt Brood trying to bash. So that's going to force some of Tex's units back, although Tex is getting this middle VP. He's splitting up his units up for capping again. His Apothecary is moving forward aggressively. I think he'll probably take this natural VP from Dullahan, or at least he'll attempt to. These Termagants may scare him off, which it looks like they are. I actually think it would have been better if he had capped this power node over here with his Apothecary while his scouts started bashing generators right here. And Hormagaunts start getting attacked by the tax, start taking some losses. I guess they started to close in for those tax, but I guess Dullahan imagined that Tex's tax must have had some support. I guess mainly in the form of these scouts. Upgraded to have a sergeant. So Tex only has... actually has 2 shotgun scouts, and they're going right there, and I think they're actually going to go for a gen bash. These scouts over here upgraded... This scout squad upgraded with that sergeant, but running a little bit low on health. Throwing a grenade. Is he going to wipe that squad? Let me see. Oh, yes. Wow, he did wipe one of those Hormagaunt squads. It was at 2 models, and he tossed a grenade. The Apothecary goes down again, though. Tex losing his Apothecary 2 times already. This time he should definitely buy it back with Laramyn's Blessing. Surprised to see Tex lose his Apothecary that much, and he does get it back with Laramyn's Blessing. Scouts do take out the node right here, and it does not look like they will be able to stay long enough. Actually, if they had stayed there, they might have been able to take out that generator if they had kept shooting the generator. Although it actually looks like they will win this ranged engagement. Wow, double shotgun blast, keeping those, basically just keeping all those units on the floor. And even though, yeah, I mean, Dullahan disrupted with those Ravener Broods, that is actually one of the very good things about shotgun scouts. First of all, they actually do a lot of range damage. You do need to be very close to do that range damage, but Tex was very close. And then if you have 2 shotgun scouts, that means you've got 2 shotgun blasts. You can knock back twice and do damage during the knockback, and that will actually be a ton of damage. And you can actually win a lot of fights that way that scouts would otherwise not win. And that was even a fight where I think under most conditions the scouts should not have won. But they used the shotgun blast to just keep them on the ground and do all that damage. It throws a grenade. Just kind of throws a grenade. Hits some of those Raveners. Raveners actually upgraded to the Devourer, giving them extra range damage. Or to be extra, it actually turns them into a ranged unit, and actually turns them into a very good one. This is the old tooltip, but I don't think it's been changed. It says that they get 22 DPS piercing damage. That's per model on a 3-model squad. That's actually 66 DPS in Tier 1. Dullahan is in Tier 2 right now, but I believe you can get that upgrade in Tier 1. And 66 DPS in Tier 1 is no joke. It's actually one of the best. Better than better than just about all of the dedicated Tier 1 range squads. Tex starts to upgrade to Purification Vials, but now he's getting Combat Stimulants. Combat Stimulants will allow him to boost the damage of one squad. Infestation Capillary Tower goes off from Dullahan. It now is getting immediately destroyed by Tex, so think kind of a wasted tower, although he leaves the tower at 3 health. I don't know why he didn't destroy it. He needs to destroy it so those Tyranid units do not get the buff from that capillary tower. Now regenerating its health. I don't know why he's... There we go. Finally just takes it out with the tax. This tax squad now upgraded to have a sergeant. I'm guessing Tex will want to get Stern Guard veterans. That sergeant is another model in the tax squad. He's fairly good in melee. Is actually just as good in ranged as the other tac models, even though he has a bolt pistol. With the sergeant, the tax will also get an ability called They Shall Know No Fear. We don't see it in that engagement. It's charged by taking damage. Over here, it looks like I think the Hormagaunts were trying to bash again, and they kind of got forced off. So Dullahan pushing up quite a bit. Dullahan's got the VP lead now after Tex had originally had a 500. He had 500 VPs while Dullahan actually lost some of his VPs, but now the Dullahan has the VP lead. He also has the bigger army and a very diverse army composition. He doesn't have double of any one unit right now. He did start out with those double Hormagaunts, but he did lose one of them. And we could actually have an ambush right now from those scouts. Will pretty much actually win against these units. Needs to do a shotgun blast on those Termagants, and it will straight up win. Although the shotgun blast may be on cooldown, or he may not have even had the energy to do it. Now Lictor Alpha jumped out of there. That means he has the deadly jump ability. Turns the Lictor Alpha into a jump unit. And this Razorback right here, just about to be purchased, or just about to get out on the field. Dullahan had a 3 cap. Tex now with less than 300 VPs, although Tex getting his caps back. This scout squad getting surrounded, though. He needs to shotgun blast and then retreat straight up. Does exactly what I said. Looks like it didn't knock back all of those units, though. So the Razorback is here. Only a 400 health, so it's a fairly light vehicle. But it will be very effective against everything here except for the Venom Brood. The Venom Brood, it does need to be careful about the Venom Brood. But the Venom Brood does not snare, so as long as Tex keeps up with his micro, he can just run his Razorback right out whenever he sees the Venom Brood. To counter that, Dullahan is getting the Zoanthrope, an artillery unit for the Tyranids. Also has a vehicle snare ability. So if he combines the vehicle snare with the Venom Brood, Dullahan should be able to take out that Razorback. And I think Tex backcap Dullahan's natural. Tex now getting the middle VP. And of course, since, especially if Dullahan splits his forces up at all, his Venom Brood can't be everywhere at once. So once Tex sees where the Venom Brood is, he can move the Razorback to somewhere else and engage different units. The Razorback will especially do well against the Termagants, the Hormagaunts, and will also do pretty well against the Raveners. Although the Warriors have now been upgraded to have adrenal glands. They will have heavy melee, but their main purpose is to provide that synapse for the Hormagaunts. Hormagaunts take too much damage approaching this scout blob right here. All of these scouts have sergeants. So it's a total of 12 scouts. That's a lot of scouts. 2 of them with shotguns doing a ton of damage as those scouts got closer. And Dullahan saying too many squads. I don't know if he's talking about his squads or Texas squads, since Dullahan does have more squads than Tex does. But obviously, Tex right there, he did get forced off because he ran his Hormagaunts into three scouts. And look at these scouts. They actually have been upgraded so that they can infiltrate. We did see that before. I don't know if all 3 squads have, but definitely these shotgun scout squads. And wow! He actually was using that infiltration to ambush the Zoanthrope, and actually came pretty close to wiping the Zoanthrope. So the Zoanthrope is a unit that definitely one of the best assets that Tyranids have, but it's very much a glass cannon asset. It is very weak, can be killed very easily if a unit can get close enough to it. The problem is that most of the time the Zoanthrope hangs at the back of the Tyranid army, and then it can retreat. So Tyranid players will usually just press X, like at the slightest sign of trouble for their Zoanthrope. They'll just hit X, and then the Zoanthrope gets out of there. Apothecary now a little overwhelmed, fully upgraded with combat stimulants, that Sanguine Chainsword, and the improved medical equipment. By the way, Tex also, he got a plasma gun on his tactical marine squad instead of upgrading to Stern Guard veterans. Tex now with a 3 cap, also with a whirlwind artillery tank. This same chassis as the Razorback, but has missile launchers instead of a heavy bolter and transport space. Tex keep managing to stay on top of his micro with a ton of units. He also got another unit that we can't even see. It's this Devastator squad. We can't even see that on the unit tab because Tex has too many units. And the Venom Brood is taking shots, but now the Devastator is setting up. Looks like we're going to have, I'm guessing, a Ripper call-in from Dullahan. Probably, actually a Spore Mine call-in, just to damage and suppress these Devastator Marines. And now the Devastator is actually in a little bit of trouble. Probably should get inside the Razorback so it doesn't have to take damage from the Razorback. But now this Razorback is in a ton of trouble. May even die right here. I think Tex needs to move forward with his scouts to disrupt that Venom Brood. And I think that's... Oh, he doesn't disrupt it. He just shoots it. I think his Razorback will get out of there alive. The Venom Brood does have to retreat these infiltrated scouts. One of the difficult things about using infiltrated scouts is that they will drain energy from the infiltration, and if you're not managing their energy well enough, they will not be able to use a grenade or a shotgun blast out of infiltration. And certainly one of the best ways to use scouts with infiltration is to infiltrate them and then either use a grenade or a shotgun blast. But you really have to pay attention to the energy. Because if you get below 60 energy or 50 energy, they will not be able to do either one. And I think Tex is getting another Devastator, so he really is having a ton of squads. He's actually at 100 population. Dullahan is himself at 84 population. Another Infestation Capillary Tower. I know this is actually still 2.0.10, so these are slightly old replays. I know most of the community has already gone onto the beta. The full release of 2.1 might even go out before this cast uploads. So in this version, those Infestation Capillary Towers are still doing knockback. Tactical Marines in here with They Shall Know No Fear, tanking a ton of damage, do get healed by the Apothecary, but the Apothecary himself is in trouble. Not to worry, though. Tex immediately buys back the Apothecary using Lariman's Blessing. Tex is doing extremely well in this game, considering there's a matchup that has traditionally been considered in Tyrannid's favor. That has probably changed. I think some players have been saying that this is a much more fair matchup now in the Elite mod. I don't know if it still favors... I'm guessing it would still favor Tyranids, but probably not as much as it used to. Another Capillary Tower, going to disrupt some units right here. The Apothecary did not go down, but the Lictor Alpha went down this time. And this is an engagement. Looks like it's going to favor Texanius by just how much he's keeping all of his units in here. And Dullahan actually calls it GG. That's the end of the game. He actually says can't deal with all these upgraded scouts. So that's what he meant by too many squads, just all those upgraded scouts. And scouts, I've actually been noticing that scouts, especially when you have multiple scout squads and you have a sergeant on them, they're suddenly a lot less squishy than they are to start out. At any rate, hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.